Hey guys, Todd from Juno Bait here again with Dylan from GT Ice Cream.
Hey guys.
So I don't know the exact order some of these videos will get posted, but I'm assuming that they'll have seen some of the surf videos and the rigging videos, most likely, before they see this one.
That's
but
right.
So it is largely a surf lure, great cast and lure.
Yeah.
But it also has some really good offshore uses,
Absolutely.
as you know we've discussed before. And the thing that I really like about this, before we get into some of the uses, is it's a little heavier lure that you can present differently to in a smaller size that you can't always do with some smaller lures. There's a lot of times where people are just using too big of lures offshore in South Florida, especially when you get into blackfin and dolphin and stuff that are used to eating little smaller stuff.
Bites,
So let's talk about some of the different ways that you can use the GT ice cream when you're fishing offshore.
Absolutely. So here in South Florida, you know, we have a good blackfin fishery. We don't really get the big yellowfins. But the blackfin tuna is what we're talking about. Bonita can be a lot of fun as well. Anyone in the tuna family, and they whack the lures as well. But the beauty of our lures and the ever-growing market of the popping and the jigging market, these lures fit perfectly. So if you couple, you know, our lures up with the right tackle, a good rod with good braid, you're going to throw a country mile. So where our lures really excel over a popper, for instance, which do catch a lot of fish as well, is in a situation where you're running and gunning. So you're in a boat, you're seeing some birds diving, you're seeing some tuna busting bait, and typically you run up there and you'll stop the motor about 50 or 100 yards away. A lot of the time those fish will sound, they'll just disappear, and you're like, what the heck, you know, and then you put your trawling rods out again and you're trawling. In this situation, you can shut down the boat probably 200 yards away, come in a little bit slower, and you'll actually reach them at least 100 yards, 120 yards, you can reach them. So what we typically do is in the offshore application, when you're targeting tuna, they can be finicky, so you're going to want to match a hatch. If you're fortunate enough to catch one on the trawl, have a look in the stomach contents. If it's throwing up bait, you'll actually see exactly what Todd meant earlier when they're eating tiny little baits, little minnows or baby pilchards or flyers or something, and you can mimic that. So this little needle nose, for instance, is a perfect match to hatch for the little offshore baitfish species. The nice thing about it, like I've mentioned, pair it up with a good 7 or 8 foot rod that's built to throw lures and built to throw braids. You can throw this a country mile. So stop that boat far away, see the fish busting, fire this lure straight up into them, straight into the middle, hold the rod up and just start cranking and just keep an eye on that lure, and you'll see them coming up and they take them. And hopefully you'll take a blackfin amongst all the tuna, because they're usually mixed in, the bonita mixed in with the blackfins. So.
And then when we talked earlier, it was kind of neat. You actually talked about being on the boat with guys and they just want to troll, you know, and it's like, I'm not a huge trolling fan. In all honesty,
it's South Florida, we troll. That's what we do.
Trolling's not my thing. It's you know, it would be one of my least favorite things to do offshore. But you said, and this like made perfect sense to me, is you'll be trolling, especially if you're trolling bait or at like a slightly slower speed, that you'll actually stand in the front of the boat and throw the lure up ahead. You know, if you see stuff or there's something that looks appealing, and while they're trolling, and as we discussed in one of the earlier videos, you don't have to work super hard to get this on top.
No.
So you're still moving, and you know you'll have to probably crank a little faster because you have the boat moved in.
Correct.
But you actually have the ability to fish up in front of the boat while you're trolling.
That's true.
You know, which is was a great idea to me. You know, and with a lot of other lures, you wouldn't be able to do that if you threw an X-Wrap or even like an old school diamond jig. It'd be so hard because you could get the cast, but you'd never get the action. And with this, because it is such an easy lure to kind of bring up to the surface.
You're 100% right, Todd. And I was in a competition, actually, a friend of mine's was Bulls for Brook, and I was fishing on it was like a 64 Hatteras sport fish on the front. And the guys were trawling again, the odd small dolphin, but I got bored. I'm a lure guy. I grew up bass fishing, so I love throwing lures. So I said, no, I'm going to get in the front of this massive sport fish. I know if you've been on one of these big sports, it's a big deck up there, and you're in the, you feel like you're in a desert. It's so big. So the captain was shaking his head, and he's like, what is this kid doing? Anyway, so I went up there, and I think I had like one of these on a 2-ounce chrome needle nose, and with my 7-foot assassin jewel rod, and I saw these skipjack tuna busting baits. I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. So I fired it out there, and I pulled 2 fish quickly. His jaw dropped. He couldn't believe it. I even caught 4 dolphin at the same time. And the guys didn't even hook up trolling. So next thing you know, all these guys are scrambling around, and being South Florida guys, they don't have the lures ready. They got like a jig or something. They're throwing big squid on a jig head, and they're throwing it with their mono and reaching right over here. When I'm throwing 120 yards over the head and catching fish. So that was a very interesting experience, and it definitely works very well.
And then we also talked about, especially I think it was with the skinny.
Yes.
Makes a great lure when you are trolling. We just kind of badmouth trolling, but let's talk about how it does work well.
So if you're feeling lazy, and you want to troll, and you know trolling works, guys. I do a bit of trolling, but I prefer throwing artificials. But these days, I actually don't take any baits on my boat when I'm offshore, and I'll just take my lures and some spoons and do some jigging and popping, and my kids enjoy it as well. But if you throw this guy, a little skinny, or even one of the needle noses in the shotgun way back, like I'm talking 150 yards back, with some braid, you actually will get the bite of that blackfin tuna who's hiding way behind the weight.
And because of the design of it, and with the weight in the back, this is going to make a great shotgun lure.
Yeah.
Where sometimes in that shotgun spot way back, you'd need something a little heavier or bigger, and this, with the design of it, is just going to stay right there.
It's going to stay on top.
And troll right where it needs to.
And do its action. I've experimented. I put little skirts on front of them, and you can do that, little teaser as well. But just as it is, this guy looks like a tiny little injured bayfish way out in the back of the spread, and he's going to get eaten all day long. So that's a good option for you as well, to put this in a shotgun and send it. And
then when you're offshore, what would your recommendation be trolling wise as far as the rigging goes? Like we discussed, leave the Dacron. Do you go to the split ring, swivel split ring in that case?
I would leave the Dacron. You're typically going to get when you're trolling offshore, you're a dolphin, you're going to get your skipjacks and your blackfin tuna and your bonita. Every now and then you'll have a kingfish, and then you might lose it. But generally, I just keep the Dacron.
Yeah, and with the kingfish, or even if you had a wahoo, they're very precise strikers.
Correct.
Yeah, they'll hit the lure. Yeah, you might not catch it. Most likely with that, you wouldn't be so worried about losing the lure itself. You missed the hook set,
Exactly.
And if you had a feeling that there was a lot of kingfish actively striking up top, or wahoo, you could always switch it to the other one.
This one.
But that would be my thought on it too. Is I would leave the Dacron for the most part.
I mean, we've even been in situations where the kings are just feeding, and then you switch to this, and they'll come up and you'll see a kingfish sky on a bait. It's a spectacular sight. They'll take the lure, and they actually come right out of the water 30 feet sometimes. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys.